has a long history of competitive prize fighting. Whether it's boxing, wrestling, brawling, honourable, unarmed conduct has been entertaining the great British public for centuries. And in the 1960s, it all went mainstream. On January the 2nd, 1965, ITV launched World of Sport, and British wrestling hit the airwaves. From then on, it had a regular slot every Saturday night, hurling the sport into the homes and hearts of the British public. Overnight, Big Daddy, Giant Haystacks, Mick McManus and Kendo Nagasaki became household names. It was the theatrics as well as the fighting that we loved. But all good things come to an end, and in 1987, wrestling was axed from the world of sport. The golden age of British wrestling was over, replaced by its overdramatic American cousin. Who's your favourite wrestler?
Big Daddy and Giant Haystacks.
Big Daddy.
Mick McManus. He was the guy that used to come on there and give it all that.
I think one of the worst things they ever did was take that away.
I wish it was still there, you know?
Have you ever heard of any wrestlers?
Bit past my time, I think.
So what happened to the legacy of British wrestling? What are all those big names doing now? Well, sadly, not many of them around anymore to tell the tale. But there are a few legends left, if you know where to look. Wayne, 3 times world champion. What's the move you're best remembered for?
They say the flying headbutt.
And have you found that useful when running the pub on a Friday night?
Sadly, I can't run across the ring anymore, and they're all too old to take the headbutt.
Well, look, here's a fellow champion, Frank.
Hello,
Good
Giles.
to see you. And Sarah, Mrs. Bridges, you're a champion too, but you're a bodybuilding champion. What for you guys was the secret of wrestling's attraction?
Well, I think it was the camaraderie amongst the wrestlers. Each one in that era were characters, weren't they, Bill? Different shapes, different sizes. They looked the part, they acted the part.
They could entertain you for hours without putting their trunks on.
So they were storytellers in their own right.
So the big stars may have disappeared from the small screen, but what of British wrestling itself? Is it still going on? Jon Ritchie is a 2 times British heavyweight champion and 31-year wrestling veteran. Here at the Bucket of Blood, he's training a new generation of wrestlers, keeping the British style alive. You were there in the 1980s, in the golden age. What was it like?
It was a great feel, lovely people, and I was on sort of 4 or 5 nights a week with wrestling superstars.
Why was wrestling axed from British television in 1987?
Basically, they said there was no interest in it as working class sport, and it was taken off the TV. It declined, the older guys weren't passing on their knowledge, and it basically lost the quality that it had.
What's the future for British wrestling?
It's alive and kicking.
And do you think it's going to come back on the box?
Well, I'd like to think so. Maybe you could help it.
I think so. Maybe the television revival begins tonight on this channel. Stay tuned.
I think you'll do well.
I've got a mask. I know I've got the muscle. Ah, yes. Who are you?
I'm Haka.
That hurt him. So, John, were the bouts for real?
But there has to be an amount of showmanship. I think modern times demand that. But we train with real holds, real moves. So what you're seeing is real wrestling.
In its heyday, British wrestling was a national institution, watched and loved by millions, glued to their sets on a Saturday afternoon. We may have lost the flamboyant costumes and the big names on the small screen, but the sport lives on, thanks to wrestling academies like this one. And as for it not having a broad popular appeal, let me tell you on the best authority that Her Majesty the Queen is a huge fan. Oh, yes. She's a huge fan.
Right.
She actually has one of her footmen, David Hintz, who is a cage wrestler, last year's British champion.
Really?
The Queen is into all of this.